Hello, this is Sally from Soul Purpose Communications. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoy listening to this story. Today, it's all about questions. I wrote this originally, actually a lot of years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and I called it Staying in the Question. And it came about because I had got asked to write an article, and because I didn't initially know where to begin or what to write, it became a huge question mark. And that felt very challenging for me, because usually when I write, I'm confident that I've got the skills to answer the question and write what is being asked of me. For me, the issue of staying in the question was new and brought about all sorts of experiences and thoughts. But that was then, and this is now. And now, as I'm recording this, is April 2020. Now, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but globally at the moment, we are all dealing with the Corona Epidemic. Some countries are at different stages of the process than others, but everyone, I think apart from Antarctic, basically everyone globally is dealing with it, feeling the consequences of it through family members who are sick, through loss of work, with children at home because they're not going to school, with perhaps working from home yourself, with certainly not going out into the world, not having as much social contact, or if any. The countries are dealing with that differently as well. The Corona Epidemic is affecting us all. So for me, this question of staying in the question is even more relevant in the context of now, because I don't know how often I say to people, actually I don't know if I can plan that or organise that or give you a commitment on that, because I don't know. I don't know how the future's going to be. I don't know if we're going to go back to work. I don't know if the kids are going to go back to school full time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to work, because I don't know if I'm going to be well then. I don't know if I'm going to get the virus. You don't know. And there's so much which is not known. So what started out 7 years ago as an essay dealing with the question of not knowing the answer to a really specific question has transmuted into this bigger global not knowingness that we're all faced with. And that feels, I think, different for different people. For me, it feels, it depends what angle I'm looking at it from. There is certainly an element of how I imagine it is to be stuck at sea and have no wind, and to kind of slosh around on the sea in your boat and basically not be able to make headway. I am so used to making headway, and at the moment in some areas I'm not making headway, but in others I am. So I'm not in the classroom teaching. I'm not seeing nearly the numbers of children that I usually see. So normally I see like 500 kids a week, and now I'm seeing 5 actually. That's an interesting correlation. I'm making any headway there, but I am making headway because I'm making these and I'm writing. But still there's a sense of heading off into the future without a compass, without knowing which direction to go in. Because all the old ways of finding direction don't work anymore. I know Boris Johnson in the UK has been ridiculed for talking about the new. I don't think he's far wrong in a way. because the old isn't there, the old isn't working. So there is a sense of having to find a new. And how are we going to recreate a new way of working? People are finding different ways of doing things. So they're finding ways of answering the question. But still there's a bigger question of where are we going? What's it going to be like out there in the future? And I think that's a fundamental question that no one can answer at the moment, because genuinely nobody knows. Nobody knows the arc of this virus. Nobody knows if there's going to be a second wave or a third or a fourth. We don't know how long there's going to have to be social distancing. It touches so much about who we are, how we live, how we identify ourselves. And I suppose a question about the question about the question is how comfortably anyone can sit with not knowing. So this idea of, what's the question? It's not the same question for all of us. So there is a huge global question mark that we're sitting with, all of us, to some degree or other, in different shapes and in different forms. And I can imagine that the invitation is to maybe not rush for an answer, maybe be prepared to do things differently. But also, when I was starting this text all these years ago, when I first wrote the text Staying in the Question, one of the things I wrote then is, the lesson for me in staying in the question is to accept the uncertain and the unknown. I see there's no mapped out plan, no logical answer to life's problems. By staying in the question, I stay in flow and give up the notion that I have any control. Maybe more than anything, even then, years and years ago, I knew there was some nugget of helpfulness in the essence of trying not to always fight forwards to find the answers, to staying with the uncertainty. With that idea roaming around in our heads, how can we live with uncertainty? How can we give up some notions of control, maybe? And how can we live with the outcome of that? How can we navigate into an uncertain future with compasses that don't have a north and maps that don't work the way they used to? With those questions resonating and revolving around our brains, I think there's an invitation to globally step into the unknown and paddle forwards together. And the more we can find communal answers to the questions, and the more we can be together in community in the unknown, probably the better it'll be for all of us. On that note, I leave you in the question and in the unknown. So thanks for listening. Hope to have you here again. This was Sally for Soul Purpose Communications.